morning. I parked it the right way up. In the world, a young man from Croatia who is the founder and CEO of Rimac Group. Mate Rimac is here. Mate, come on up. Thank you. Please, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Mate. We'll put him in the middle. He's the star of the show, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Hey, hi. Good to see you. Paul, thanks for coming.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mate, I know you're coming off a early morning board meeting, so thanks for joining us here. It's great to have you here. Paul, I'll start with you. When I look at the collection of vehicles that's available to the luxury consumer in the world, and certainly through your dealership in Canada, the first thing I look at as a racer is horsepower.
For sure.
This is obscene levels of power now. A lot of the cars that you sell, including the ones that Mate has created, we're talking about horsepower levels that in my 25 years of racing, I've never even touched on those levels. How do you describe the customer type that is going after these vehicles today? I mean, there's a wide variety.
There is, you know, and the one thing that is amazing about all this, Townsend, is each car has its own DNA. So horsepower is a common denominator to a great extent. It's always one of the first questions. But our role, as far as the dealership is concerned, is actually trying to find the right car that fits their lifestyle, and that's truly critical when it comes to it, with them enjoying the car and making the most of the car. But horsepower is the first thing on the agenda, but the fit and finish, the infotainment now is so much as well. Design language.
I think your story is particularly unique in the industry, in that you are truly a ground up, roll up your sleeves, taught yourself in a lot of ways, the mechanical side, the electrical side. Where did this fascination come from? Can you remember pinpoint a time in your life as a young person where you were really had fallen in love with this industry?
Well, I don't know, because my parents tell me stories from, you know, when I was really a baby, before I could walk or talk, I was just crazy about cars. And even more interestingly, because I mean, my parents had nothing to do with cars, and I was born in Bosnia, which at that time was Yugoslavia, and Bosnia is like, even today, like the second poorest country in Europe, and where I'm from is like the poorest part of Bosnia, so there were no cars, no streets, and I was just somehow fascinated by cars all my life. And then when the war started, my parents moved to Germany, and all of a sudden there were a bunch of cars and car shows, and I absorbed all of it, like from television, from like magazines and stuff. And I just wanted to do something with cars all my life. And it evolved over time, you know. As I got older, I realized that Nikola Tesla was born in Croatia. He invented the electric motor that we use in so many things today. So I was also fascinated by electronics. I was the like local and then national level champion for electronics innovation when I was 17 years old, and then combined my two passions into building an electric car out of a 1984 BMW E30, and that's how I started. So I really consider myself lucky, because I really, like, if I could go back in time to that, you know, teenager, that the teenager sees what I'm doing now, yeah, I don't think he could believe it.
So you're 17 years old, you're converting this BMW to electric. If you think back to that project, what was the hardest part for you to figure out how to make that work? Was it the mechanical integration of the systems, battery energy supply, control systems? What aspect of that was the biggest challenge?
Well, I really had no idea what the hell I was doing. You know, I didn't know one person in the auto industry. I just, you know, in Croatia I didn't have a car industry. So, I mean, I started actually, so the true story is, I had this 1984 BMW because it was like the easiest way to start racing. Like, you weld the differential, have a short ratio differential so you can drift, and you have a bunch of old tires. And like at the second race, my engine blew up. And I actually wanted to replace it with a V8 out of a E39 M5. So naturally aspirated V8 engine, amazing sound, but it was too expensive for me. And I was like, if I'm already going to invest years of my life into building this car, why not do something that could also turn out to be a business? So I started doing the BMW kind of with a business in mind, because I thought, well, electric cars are not a thing yet, but they could become. So that's what I started with. And then, you know, building a company actually, and especially raising money, finding investors, that was the hardest part. Technical part, yes, but you know, you figure it out. And you know, I got electrocuted 100 times building the car and stuff. So, but that's all fun and games.
Yeah.
The problem was paying the bills.
Yeah. And Paul, for you, bringing a new brand into your collection like Rimac, it's a differentiator, right? Certainly in the hypercar space, there's a story behind every brand, but this one in particular with Mate, it's something special.
It's redefining hypercars to a great extent, and that's some of the role that we have played, is educating everybody, because it used to be all just about horsepower. Now it's everything that the Nevera offers. It's a new spectrum, it's a new environment as far as that car is concerned. But last night we had a wonderful dinner with Mate, with our clients, and they just want to absorb more and more information about what the car is all about. And one thing about Mate, and I'll give him nothing but credit, he's infectious. You truly enjoy listening to the conversation, but you get to meet the man behind the fella that had the vision to bring a car to marketplace. There's not too many gentlemen in this world that built a car company. He's done it, and he's put in this hypercar package, helping redefine that segment. It's really a spectacular story, and we're proud to represent it in Canada.
And Mate, it's a company that not just leads with a hypercar, but behind the scenes, you're a key supplier to a lot of OEMs. Can you share a little bit about what the business does in that regard?
Yeah, just yesterday we were talking about, my heroes, and we mentioned one, which was Nikola Tesla, but two others were Horacio Pagani and Christian Koenigsegg. They were like my big heroes. And I just mentioned the story when I started a company, and I took the whole company in my Volkswagen Passat, so 3 guys, and we took a factory tour of Pagani. And at that time, Pagani was 40 employees. And he started in, I think, 1999. And today, we are 2,500 employees. And Pagani is like maybe 250. I still have, great admiration for Horacio, but our main business is actually developing and producing battery systems and powertrain systems for many other car companies. So our customers include like Hyundai, Porsche, Aston Martin, Koenigsegg, and so on. And basically what you see with the Nevera is where we can go really wild and do crazy things that a car company, like a serious big car company, would be too risk averse for. And we show them it can be done, it works, and then they adapt it. For example, having 4 electric motors. Many companies were like, that's risky, that's dangerous, can you really control it? What can you do with it? Is there an advantage? We do it, and then, believe me, all the car companies came to try it, and now a lot of them are doing something similar as well, with us or without us. We use the hypercars kind of also as a showcase of what can be done, what's possible technically, and then it trickles down to also less expensive cars that more people can afford.
Well, speaking of an expert in risk and danger, if you have my mic still there it is. Speaking of an expert in risk and danger, I know we've got one of your test drivers hiding back there. So let's bring up the new Rimac Nevera, 1900 horsepower, 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. It's a rocket ship, and we've got someone who is particularly adept at navigating the challenges of this vehicle.
Well, I wouldn't call him a test driver. First test on me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richard Hammond.
Morning! I parked it the right way up. I'm really pleased. Can I give you that? Because they told me I had to hand it over. Good morning. Lovely to see you.
Come on up, Richard. Well done, by the way.
I thought that was brilliant. I was watching. I was terrified. I don't know who was more scared, me or him. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the meeting.
Richard, great to see you. Well done.
Congratulations on that question.
We thought, what perfect way to have you arrive, but with seemingly 500 people lining the streets here as you come up. You weren't tempted to send it?
It would have ended up buried in that wall there. I have had a brief drive of it, thanks to Mate being very trusting.
I think we could do
And
nice
it's an epic
donut
thing.
here, huh?
He was encouraging me. He's the worst. But that's absolutely key, can I just say? It really is. That's where my enthusiasm for Rimac is rooted. Because I do think the work Mate does is best. The best example of it is just before you came on. He said to me, go on, going really fast. But that's because, as an engineer and a racing driver, he doesn't set out to build an electric car and try and make it exciting. It is electric, it turns it on its head, and I think that's why the work that these guys are doing right now is actually critically important. We're at a pivotal moment. Change is coming to our industry and to our passion. It has to, and it is. But that doesn't mean it has to be, as we're so often told, a bleak, dreary landscape full of things nobody wants to own. Somebody's got to be out there pushing the message that the future can and will be exciting. That's why it's important work. Because what happens here, what works here, will filter down to cars that the rest of us mere mortals can buy one day.
So I don't think anybody on the planet has more extreme experience behind the wheel of a Rimac. How do you describe to the audience here, to me, I've never experienced anything of this kind of capability. What's it like behind the wheel? What's the driving experience like?
As in with all the best, for me, and for a car guy, the most exciting cars are those that are dominated by their power delivery. And that's the thing that's still here. Whether you're being propelled by a W16 or this, that's what defines the experience. I've driven jet-powered dragsters, that didn't go well either. But I've driven jet-powered cars, massive engine cars, small cars. This has its own manner of power delivery. It's relentless, it's endless, it's just limitless thrust. But there's also, you can sense the company is driven by an engineer. It's made, it feels together. You do get an increase in mass, of course you do. It's got to be able to contain and control that, and it does, it shrugs it off. That's what makes it an exciting car. And as I say, the key thing that these guys are doing, they're not trying to make an electric car exciting. They're making an exciting car that is electric, and that's the mission.
You on the showroom floor. You're beautiful. I can't afford you, but I'd love to have you.
I can sell myself anything. Hence my car.
Yeah, I saw you in the auctions last night, swiping through.
Yeah,
so, Mate, we talked about quad motor. We certainly talked about horsepower, but in terms of the overall packaging, can you detail for us a little bit more behind, behind this vehicle? What's under the skin here that you're so proud of?
Well, what I'm proud of is that it's like completely developed by us. So there is not one part in this car that's taken over from something else. And because we didn't want to compromise. So it was like an idea. We set our targets really high in terms of like what the car can achieve and the whole package that it has to be also comfortable and usable and fun to drive and fast accelerating thing in the road and still very easy for everybody to use. And I'm really proud on the whole package, how it turned out. But you learn so much during going through such a project. It's basically 6 years of blood, sweat and tears of hundreds of people. So you always learn what you can do better. Also one thing I'm really proud of is this car broke 27 world records last year. So it holds 27 world records.
Let's talk about some of those. Top speed?
So top speed for an electric car, acceleration.
What was that top speed?
412 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
But it can actually go more.
How much downforce do you estimate it would generate at that speed?
Well, the fun thing is when you drive that fast, it doesn't have one single number. Actually, the bottom of the car acts as a reverse wing, and the top of the car acts like an airplane wing. So you actually have, let's say, 2 tons pulling the car up and 2 tons pulling the car down. So it's like 4 tons trying to rip the car in two.
That's comforting.
You shouldn't write.
No, he's not Richard Church.
Yeah, but a lot of it, like most of the cars actually made in our facility. That's really special when you go around the factory, you can see almost every part of the car being made there. And that in a country that never developed and built cars before. Yeah. So we had to build all of this know-how up that we are now also using on new Bugattis and everything else that we're doing.
That's one of the things that excited me because I visited the factory shortly before my slight parking incident with the Concept One. And Mate, you did say, if we were to lock you all in the factory, they could turn out pretty much an entire car, apart from the tyres. Other than that, an entire car, which if you think in our industry, that is unbelievably.
What has this vehicle done for your country and your company in terms of inspiring the next generation of engineers, inspiring the community where you're from? I mean, this must be an absolute celebration of your small but highly capable country.
Yeah, well, Croatia is beautiful, wonderful, and people know it for Dubrovnik, for sailing, for the islands. It's really, just picturesque. It's beautiful, and culture and all that, but never for technology. And I actually, when I started out, many investors came to me, or when I came to investors, they didn't want to invest in a Croatian company. They told me, like, you have to move your company to Germany or whatever country if you want our money. And I was like, no, I really want to prove that you can do this in Croatia. And I was told a million times, more in Croatia than otherwise, that it cannot be done there. But I was so stubborn and made my life really difficult because of it. It would have been a much easier journey if I would have done it somewhere else. And now, it's the most international company in Croatia. We have 50 nationalities from all around the world. It's the company that raised most money, over €1 billion, from the best investors in the world, like Porsche, Hyundai, SoftBank, Goldman Sachs, and so on. And if everything goes to plan, this will be a big part of the Croatian GDP in a few years from today. So it could be, compared to Croatia's tourism, something that nobody, like if you ask somebody 15 years ago, like, will Croatia have its own homegrown auto industry? Everybody would say, you're insane. And now, if my plans happen in the next few years, it will be comparable to the Croatian tourism.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something special. Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That is really fantastic. What, from a product standpoint, what can we expect to see next? Without telling us too much, where do you go from here?
Well, actually, my biggest occupation the last 3 years is developing the success of the Chiron. So we took control of Bugatti as well. I'm the CEO of, this car is made by a company called Bugatti Rimac. So it's one company now with Bugatti Rimac. Completely different products, but the same team behind it, basically. But the cars are built in 2 locations, Bugatti in France and Rimac in Croatia. And so the most exciting project is always the next one. And this one we will show, so the successor of the Chiron, we will show in a few months. Actually, we just show it, we are showing it to customers, to existing customers already. So I'm going to Miami in a couple of days where we are showing it to customers in a, let's say, private setting. And it's going to be something that people wouldn't expect of somebody making electric cars for the last 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds exciting. I'm going to be in Miami, so maybe I'll stop by.
Bring a checkbook.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on stage today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mate Rimac, Paul Cummings, and of course, Mr. Richard Hammond. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Yeah.